Hi, and welcome to this episode of Our Guest Is, presented by My East Coast Experience Media in partnership with RBC. I'm Natalie Fournier. Our Guest Is introduces us to a resilient group of people typically called immigrants, but perhaps better described as entrepreneurs, community builders, and survivors. In each episode, we'll be hearing all about their journey to Canada's East Coast in their own words. Today, our guest is Rany Ibrahim. Rany, I'm just going to do a little short bio about you before we get started. So you're originally from Cairo, Egypt, and you moved to Canada as an international student in 2002. You currently work with the Government of Nova Scotia as Director of Economic Devlopment and Trade, and you have a professional background in marketing, business. Your education includes a PhD from Dalhousie University.
The coursework, yeah.
And an MBA from Cape Breton University, among many other educational accolades. You were among Atlantic Canada's 50 most inspiring entrepreneurial leaders under 40. You're a top 25 Canadian Immigrant Awards winner and were recognized by the Nova Scotia House of Assembly for your contributions and community involvement. You're also on the Most Inspiring Immigrants Advisory Committee, and you were recognized as one of the most inspiring immigrants in Atlantic Canada in 2017. Also have to note that you have a Wikipedia page, which is pretty cool because I think besides a celebrity, I've never met an actual person in person that has a Wikipedia page. So good on you.
Thank you.
And I feel like you could add more to that Wikipedia page, just as I could add more to that bio that I read, because you have quite a life. You're, volunteering, you're involved in the community, your jobs in the past, job present, and just your journey to Atlantic Canada and what it has brought to you. And I guess we can get started by just talking about your journey to Atlantic Canada. So just tell us about, why you made that decision and what it was like to get here.
Growing up, I always felt there is something out there for me, but I didn't know what it was. And I always have this kind of discontent or feeling that even I was getting or achieving some of my goals, it wasn't quite what I'd like to do or where I should be. Prior to coming to Canada, I had a successful, I completed my undergrad, and even while doing my undergrad, I started working fairly young, and this is not traditional for Egyptian youth to start working from high school onwards, and so I kind of broke this tradition in terms of being independent from that age and able to have my own income and living on my own and travel and explore. My family allowed me, or a family condition allowed me to have this kind of non-traditional early life. That even while exploring career in hospitality, tourism, and aviation, while finishing my undergrad, I stumbled across a Canadian education fair, international education fair, and I just went with my friends and just exploring, just roaming around and looking at from one booth to another, and I stumbled around one of the university's master program, like a graduate degree program, and got lead into a master program. And for me, academia wasn't a target. I never thought myself as a successful graduate student, or I passing my courses and getting it done. I was more focused on a professional life and, what the excitement of doing things.
More of a worker, maybe.
More of a worker, yes. But I came across a scholarship opportunity that agreement between the Government of Canada and the Government of Egypt, and make it almost like international competition that you can compete in this scholarship and will be covered by, the winners will be included in this program. And Egypt is a large country. Back then, it was around 65 million population. Now it's over 110 million. So, but among the 65 million, majority are youth. So the pool of competition for the recent graduate was quite high, tens of thousands probably competed on this. I just threw my name in a hat, and I passed a series of intense exams, started from IQ to English to, more technical and comprehensive. And I keep passing. And every time I pass one of these exams, I get surprised. Why?
Are you sure?
Are you sure it says it's right, it's correct? It's am I that, smart? And until the last exam, and that led to an interview, and I wasn't quite sure that this is just I'm testing it. That's not that's something I would like to pursue really. And then when I had this interview, it was an aha moment that you know what, maybe it's a fate, maybe it's something that it's a calling, and I should follow it through. And Canada had always had this kind of positive, internationally positive image and positive perception. So I thought, you know, if it led me to go there, of course, it's you know, I should follow it, and that's how I, you know, dropped everything and successful career I had, and all. Of course, I have to leave family and friends and all this stuff. So it's lots of things to consider. But I followed this calling, and I never looked back since. It was every time I look back, hindsight 2020. But I think I felt the right decision, the right time, and opened the door for a whole new me, a whole new life in Canada, which is what you mentioned earlier.
And I love that idea of fate, and you know, you're going through this journey, you're going through this competitive, you know, scholarship process, and just letting, you know, I don't know if it's nature or fate or, you know, something, just take its course, just let it happen, and it has changed your whole life. Do you find you're a competitive person?
I can be. It depends. If something I'm passionate about, something I really believe in, I'll go all the way. I have perseverance or determination, or not taking no just in the face of it. It's something. I start to this point that being calculated, stubborn, but in the right way. But that's what made me able to overcome lots of the challenges that was thrown in my way, and it wasn't an easy transition as well. It was lots of hiccups, but you take it and you overcome it, and you find ways to go through it. Even when you're back to the wall, it's just you say, you know what, it's do or die.
Yeah. I was reading online about the decision you made to become a cosmopolitan Canadian. I love that word, and not because it's a alcoholic drink, but just that it's so, you know, it's so, it just describes so much positives and, you know, glamour really to me. But you wanted to become a cosmopolitan Canadian when you moved to Halifax. Can you elaborate on what that means to you and how it helped your transition?
When I first came and as an international student, so there's a couple of ways you can go about it. One, you go to the expats and just you have your own group, so you have easier transition to your culture shock and feel like the homesick will be lesser. Or you can just, you know what, you throw yourself into the mix, and you have to adapt and learn and be open to this kind of culture shock adaptation. So and that's what I choose to do. It's like, you know what, maybe I'll have the comfort having just surrounding myself with only expats, but that's not going to help me in integration. And I'm here. If I wanted to be around expats, might as well just stay home, where I have my family and friends, and you know, everybody speaks the same language and have the same culture understanding. So it was a calculated decision, and I made a point. I went out of my way to integrate, and integrate was multi groups, not just from the local Canadians, but even the other international students from all over the world. You know, from either from the university community or broader in the community itself. So and that's allowed me to get a flavor of where is the commonalities, where is how we can enhance each other's experiences and support each other as well, like creating support network. Canada's in its history is a cosmopolitan. Although, like, you know, the early ages, you know, France and England and all this have the Canada Foundation, but it's transcended now. When you look at Canada, the population pockets in Canada, it's pretty much a United Nation, and just it's in one country.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk a little bit about population and a bit of a culture shock too, because Cairo, your home city, is over 10 million people. And you were moving to a province at the time in 2002 that wasn't even close to 1 million people. And now, of course, you know, we have grown substantially. But Was there a culture shock, situation for you when you came here from, a very busy city to a not so busy city? And did you see opportunity in that?
Of course, actually, not just to Nova Scotia. I moved even in Sydney, Cape Breton, and it was even smaller. And I came, and I recall it vividly. It was winter. It was dark. It was gloom. It was around Christmas time. Everything is closed. Campus is closed. They opened the campus just for me, so I didn't have any other place to go. Because I started the winter semester, which is January onwards. But I came in around the holidays in December just to get settled, but the campus was closed.
So, hi, everyone.
So it was, it's nobody was barely anybody around. The weather was
not so great.
Not so great, and of course I wasn't even geared yet, in terms of adaptation and either from clothing or really know what to expect. And even when the school started and when I started to venture in the community itself, it was of course smaller, and things are closed early. Like in Cairo, 24/7, you go out in the street, you can eat, you hang out with friends, cafes. There's always something to do, and the noise and hustle and bustle, and so I missed that in the beginning, and because it's super quiet after 6 o'clock, or
it would almost be like hearing an air conditioner all day, and then you go home where there is no air conditioner, and it's this almost deafening silence. Was it something like that for you, or just the silence was so...
It was creepy, and to the point that I used to put the radio on and noise. I used to create noise around me just to make me feel like I'm not alone, like I'm still in this kind of busy life around me. Gradually, but if you ask me this question right now, I actually enjoy silence. I enjoy quietness. I adapted to the peaceful, relaxed lifestyle.
Yes, the silence of quieter city. Not so much in the last maybe 5 years. The city has definitely changed, which is amazing how fast it's grown. But sometimes silence is nice.
It is indeed.
So now that Nova Scotia has passed that 1 million population point, I read too that it increased almost by 30,000 people between July of 2021 and June of 2022. And 13,000 of that number were immigrants. How do you think the province can attract and keep immigrants in Atlantic Canada?
I think it's creating opportunities or supporting entrepreneurship or new entrepreneurs to bring investment or create investment or build new businesses. The business side of it is very important, but the integration as well. It's a fulsome array of tools that you have to have it in place, because it has consequences as well. Like you have the housing, you have the healthcare, you have other things, the services that will have to service these newcomers. So I think it's lots of good things happening. It's a good problem to be solved. I think that it triggered because the newcomers or new immigrants that come, some of them are doctors, so helping to fulfill some of the issues that about doctor shortage, for example, or other professionals, in certain areas. The aging population in general, which is overarching across Canada, was 5 million, I think, last number I read, going to retirement within the next few years. So there is a need, and there is opportunities to be filled, and these newcomers come with new experiences, the talent pool that we will pull from to enhance our economy or our social fabric. I mean, these cities, there's towns and cities are either declining or on the risk of being not sustainable, just leaving it or a few homes or few houses. You want to make sure that the population enhancing this kind of demographic balance across the province and making sure that it's bringing prosperity as well to everybody, including the people that are born and raised here, and not necessarily newcomers.
What do you think the future for Nova Scotia will look like?
You know what? I always look half full. I think we're doing really well. I think we're going in the right direction. Within Canada, I mean, Halifax is one of the fastest growing cities. Nova Scotia, one of the fastest growing provinces in terms of population. And that's, people go to a place that have opportunity, the place that have a good reputation, it's safe, they see a future for themselves and for their children. So that's pretty much testimony. If more people from all over the world considering coming and to Nova Scotia or to Halifax, that's indication that actually, you know what, we are onto something here. We stand out, not just within Canada, internationally. I used to work in immigration. One of my early jobs as a public servant, I used to go international recruit for Canada, for Nova Scotia, and we competing with Australia, with New Zealand, with other parts of the world, and you know, there is Australia weather may be nicer, but yeah, they have, like, you know, also if you went to the wildlife, or many things can kill you.
The
poisonous
spiders that hide in your shoes.
So like, you know, every place has its own, like, you know, attractions or disattraction. So you're doing this kind of competition and globally, and you stand out, and even within Canada, you stand out as well. Again, like Nova Scotia or Halifax, not going to be for everybody.
Right, yeah.
There's people
even
like,
people who are born and raised here, it's not for them either.
Exactly. Some people like, you know what, I want to be in Toronto, I want to be
Yeah.
in Vancouver. Just it is a decision, doesn't not necessarily tied to specific or have a family, or just I want to be in a larger, busy New York like
Maybe
city.
they need the noise.
Need the noise.
Those busy cities.
What some are escaping from.
Yeah, yes. Even people, you know, from Ontario, we saw that during the COVID pandemic,
Exactly.
that people wanted that silence, that quiet life, that comfortable life, and yeah, moving here from the big cities.
And being on the ocean here as well. I mean, like here you don't have to drive far to find a beach or see even the ocean.
You can see it from this window where the podcast is
Exactly,
happening.
yeah.
What attracted you to stay in Nova Scotia? Like, you know, you graduated. I mean, why did you stay here?
That's a very good question. I was told that many of my friends left. Like I'm among the very few that decided to stay, and I occasionally it's like, you know, why are you still there? Like, because I love it here. I created community, and I created ties and link and deep roots. I feel like when someone asks me, like, you know, oh yes, I'm a Canadian, I'm a Nova Scotian, and right now I'm a Haligonian as well. That's becoming how I identify myself. Started from being integrated in a community, building this kind of relationships, more reasons and excuses to stay, make it harder and harder for you to leave behind, or and also when you hear from your friends that left to other places across Canada, you hear the stories and you compare. It's like, you know what, I think I did the right decision, and I'm here. Maybe I'm not getting paid more, but guess what? Doesn't cost me much more as well for, you know, if I'm
in a bigger city.
In a bigger city, or the how much time I'm wasting in a bigger city as well.
Yeah. You also contribute to My East Coast Experience media online, and you write articles, and you've done interviews with CNN and CTV, and so I feel almost nervous like interviewing you, because you could be interviewing me. But you wrote an article for My East Coast Experience where you pointed out the good and the bad that comes with that common maritime phrase, come from away. Would you summarize that article for our listeners really quickly and explain why this phrase is good and bad?
It's good and bad, because it's good when it's put in a positive light of you bringing experience in something exciting. If it's about your culture, or the cuisine, or something can be shared and adapted and welcomed. It's bad when it's being positioned as you are a stranger, or you're not one of us, or you're
not from here. Yeah.
You're not from here, or you're coming to take something away from us.
Yeah.
Or put us on a disadvantage. And this is something whenever any newcomer come and ask me for an advice, I tell them, like, you know what, make sure that you contribute to the value proposition. This is a business terminology, but really, what value you bring here? Not just what you're coming here for. If you're a refugee, for refuge, for safety. If you're economic immigrant, you're coming for better life for you and for your family. But what you bring to the table as well, what you're bringing to Canada, what you bring to Nova Scotia, what you're bringing to your community, because people need to hear that. Sometimes you can do it, and you don't think that, you think people might realize it, but unfortunately, sometimes you have just to flag it, and make a point that I'm participating, I'm volunteering, I'm doing service that nobody else able to do, and that's make the point and diffuse some of these negative connotation that comes from OA. But there is lots of progress happened since when I wrote this article to nowadays, in terms of the more people come, the more people integrate, the more we become cosmopolitan, to your earlier comment, makes it more a lesser problem and make it less time or energy spent on explaining it. Sometimes even you don't need to, just brush it aside and just keep doing the right thing or keep doing what you think is the right thing. And end of the day, like you've proven right. We're not the first and the only. The entire nation is founded on immigration.
Back to your writing experience, and you often discuss your personal journey in these columns. Why do you think it's important to share your personal journey for immigrants to read about?
To give them hope, to give them examples. Everyone or many people might look at their own problems or their own experiences like, it's too hard and I don't think I can over it, or I don't think others would be able to do that. And it gives them hope and a glimpse of hope that, don't worry, keep at it. You're not the only one. I went through this before. This is how I got over it, and this is how I was able to be successful. You can do it too. And gives them this kind of motivation and hope and a little bit of advice that, perseverance is a key skill for them to move forward. And they already heroes in their own way in terms of or champions or above average in terms of leaving everything behind, either their own decision or the decision forcing them if they're refugees, and having to start from scratch or even don't have even the basics to start. So sometimes
a winter coat, like you said, you didn't have the winter clothing to move to Cape Breton.
I had what I thought it was winter clothing,
right.
But it's an Egyptian standards, which is not quite insulated.
Right.
But, Egyptian winter is a whole different winter.
Yeah.
But so it is back to the basics, and it gives them hope that you can do it, and dig deep. We are stronger deep inside, and sometimes you don't know how strong you are or how far you can go unless you face a situation and you decide, that's how I'm going to proceed.
And I think that's why in the intro for this podcast, we always say, not only entrepreneurs, community builders, and survivors. I mean, we're talking about survivors like that, exactly what you just said, of digging deep inside and making those tough decisions and choices. Sometimes they're made for you, and persevering. And, earlier in the conversation, you mentioned half glass full. I mean, you're a very optimistic person. And I think when people read your articles and learn about you and read about you, I mean, that is so evident in what you present. And I think that would inspire everyone,
One of my key aha moments, actually a couple of aha moments. One of them was when first time when I worked in immigration as an immigration official, recruiting immigrants, presenting internationally. I was an event in London and another one in Dubai, and have audience from all over the world and telling them about opportunities in Canada, the immigration program, and whatnot. And I get questions from the floor. It's like, how we can be successful. I told them the person standing in front of you not long ago was an international student from Egypt. Here I am, a Canadian official. The second aha moment for me was actually very recent. I was an international event representing the Government of Canada and province in the EU, as making a full statement and taking showcasing official position for us internationally, and that was a big deal for me. Like again, like this kid that came as an international student not long ago, now he is representing the country internationally in an international audience in an official manner. That's a big deal. To me.
Big accomplishment. Oh, for sure.
So it was, again, like it hit me. Sometimes it doesn't hit you until you are in a situation. You know, it's important. It's a part of your job, but the aha moment really when you reflect on your own, where you started. That's where it brings it home to you, and that's where give you motivation that you can go far, even more than where you are right now, and hopefully others can do the same or even better.
Why do you think it's important for non-immigrant Canadians to learn about your personal journey, whether they're reading it in the columns or listening to this podcast or just meeting you in person?
There is some life skill, and it's transferable. I mean, if it's if they're not immigrants, if you're on temporary basis or in students, you know, it will be allows them have a better experience in terms of the time that they're spending here or living here or working here as a foreign worker or international student. If it's someone in a different country and just hearing about me, and actually I was surprised that a couple of years ago I got notified that by the Government of Canada that I'm being taught in French textbooks for high school students in France in public.
You are?
I am. I'm my profile in a textbook there, and they need my agreement, of course. So I'm being taught in France, like in my story. So that was another cool thing. Another that I did not expect. Because they found me somehow, and they decided they saw that they can use it to teach them English and about Canada as well. So there is the transferable skills as well, promoting active citizenship or being involved or taking chances or taking opportunities and going the extra mile, and that can pay off. The hard work pays off.
Tell me a little bit about your family, whether it's your family in Cairo or your family here. And I mean, again, back to the aha moments of, hey, I was an international student and now I'm here permanently and I have a family. I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So my family, my partner and I living here in Halifax. We have two sons. The most recent one is Alex. He's 15 months old boy, and Jacob is 10 years old. I just took him recently to the World Cup in Qatar, and it was a huge experience for both of us. And we're living, and we have a cat. My mom, and my dad. My dad passed away a few years ago. My mom, retired banker, and actually I learned a lot from my mom. She was a hard worker as well, and inspired me to be who I am today. In fact, recently she just came and stayed with us and immigrated as well. Like she was living with us right now, and she's retired right now, but I think it's part of the immigrant experience. She attended a couple of the events that I was recognized as, and I was very proud, not necessarily with the award, that the fact that she was in the room with me, that she saw it, that it meant a lot for both of us.
I was going to say, must have been challenging in a lot of ways too, and your successes from 2002 up until recently when, she was able to see you in person. Was that ever in the back of your mind that, God, I really wish my family was here and I wish they were experiencing this with me?
Yes, and especially in the beginning, because they weren't too warm about me abandoning everything and leaving Egypt and migrate to Canada. They were the fact because I was well established and I had lots of opportunities ahead of me, and they just did not comprehend why I'm doing this. And I tried to explain, but I couldn't illustrate it to them. So the more things happening to me here, it was very important for me to share with them. It's like, this is why. And it took them a few years to understand it and to see it, but later on, it just, that yes, you did the right decision.
What do you think your life would have been like if you stayed in Egypt?
Hard to tell. It's I probably owe so many experiences. I'm not even like the trajectory of my life. It just went to a whole different level. Not even in the same book. It's it's hard to imagine it at this point. Yeah, I had an interesting, exciting life back then, but also my life right now is more interesting, more exciting. I mentioned some of the examples that, working in the government here in Canada or teaching at a local university. Again, I never thought myself as an academic, from being like an average student to, excel in graduate studies to above average and be able to be a professor. I never imagined myself teaching on a university level in Canada or elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So that's again another perspective that if I stayed where I was, I would never access such opportunities.
Is there anything that you would have changed about your journey to Atlantic Canada?
A few. I mean, you know what? I taught myself that, whatever happened. You keep moving on. You learn from it. If it's a good thing, that's great. It happened. If it's a bad thing, it's, you learn, from it and you move on. I had lots of challenges, but I had lots of opportunities. I'm very grateful. And also it wasn't just me. Actually, it's a network around me. There's people help me to get to where I'm at and where I can go. So this support network, people is still in our life right now, and people passed away, and I'm grateful to every one of them. I wouldn't be here right now talking to you if it wasn't for them. There are times that either I couldn't find anybody or find very few people, but really, there are some people stood out by me, gave me the hope, if not nothing logistical, just the hope or the glimpse of hope that they allowed me to go to the extra mile. And that's some of the messages that I try always to communicate is, you don't have to, if even you're short of helping a newcomer or immigrant or it's just anybody, just talk to them. Mm-hmm. If you can do it in material sense or something logistical, just at least give them the hope and the glimpse and listen to them, because that can make a huge difference for them. But it's different when people feel cornered and everything shut and don't feel there is a future. That's a dark side. You really try to avoid.
Everyone should have your optimism.
I hope even I'm more optimistic. Like I like recently with COVID and everything else, and it's all of us saw. Many aspects, many new realities around us and within our own homes and our own lives. And so I think it's looking at this recent experience that touched all of us, I think it will make a difference for our life more moving forward, because it also allowed us to look deep inside and see things that we didn't know that we could possible or we can do.
What did it mean to you to be recognized as one of the most inspiring immigrants in Atlantic Canada?
It's an honor, and I don't take it lightly, and it's a privilege as well. Like, so many people do things and not being realized or noticed, and I was fortunate that, people realized or noticed me. Maybe I was in the right place in the right time, and again, this kind of recognition, it means a lot to me, but also I want to use it as an opportunity to share with others to, you can be recognized as well. And this is kind of the things or the traits that, allow you to achieve this kind of recognition or this kind of status in public life.
Was the picture I saw online was that you receiving your award with Mayor Mike Savage?
That's correct, yeah.
That picture looked like two bros, like shaking hands. Like it wasn't a handshake, it was like a grip of fists, and he was like right on. I mean, do you have a personal relationship with the mayor? Or?
He's very cool. Like I know him professionally, and he's down to earth and easy to I don't know if I ever met him to relate to him. He saw me in a couple of public functions, newcomers or immigrants, and noticed some of the activities we do. And when he saw me on the stage, of course, he knows the names before the stage. When he presented the award himself and saw me on the stage, he visually recognized me fairly quickly. And
He seemed like proud to meet you, proud to give you the award, and proud of you.
And that's a great feeling that that the mayor of your own city and is proud of you. That gave you motivation even to do more.
Yeah.
And I had a similar experience with a premier, and with the ministers, and so it's great when you see this kind of recognition from public officials on that level. It makes you put more pressure on your shoulder as well in terms of responsibility. You wanna make sure that you're,
there's good pressure and then there's bad pressure.
It's a good pressure that you want to do more, and you wanna make sure that going further and building up and not letting anybody down.
What do you see for yourself in the future? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you love that question?
I wish I know the answer. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
That's another thing for being an immigrant or newcomer. Or for me personally, I always left the door open. Mm-hmm. Anything can happen. Open door for opportunities. Don't be shy of exploring or trying things, and that's how we can be successful. People don't try, don't win, don't be successful. So and I have this kind of attitude, and so the door is open. Whenever there's something new and exciting, I'll give it a try. But also right now, of course, with family and everything around me, with age as well, you take more calculated decisions, mm-hmm. Not quite impulsive or following your gut feeling or your passion. But passion is still part of me, part of who I am. Mm-hmm. So I cannot just abandon it completely, but I integrate it in a more calculated, more careful, cautious decisions.
Until the kids are like 18, then you can be wild.
Then out of the window, yes.
Thank you, Rany, and thank you to everyone joining us today for this episode of Our Guest Is. If you don't want to miss the next episode, make sure you subscribe. You can find us on myeastcoastexperience.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and YouTube. Plus, don't forget you can follow My East Coast Experience on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I'm Natalie Fournier. Thanks again, and hope you join us for our next episode.